You have no gunny. Look what gun.
What is the number one most important thing when picking a gun in COD or kitting out a gun in Warzone, anything like that? What is the number one most important factor? Well, it's actually style. Forget damage range and mobility, it's all about how the gun looks. All jokes aside, having a gun that looks really cool, in my opinion, goes a long way, more than you might think. So today we're looking at the Lockwood 300, and more importantly, we're checking out the Olympia barrel on this thing that actually turns it into the Olympia from Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3. And you might be wondering to yourself, why this barrel in particular? Well, if you look at the way it looks, just look at it. It has that very unique and identifiable top part where it has like those holes in the rail, and it has a little bit of a different set of iron sights compared to the other barrels. A lot of people overlook this barrel simply because it doesn't really offer any range or anything. It simply just gives you recoil control. And you might be thinking to yourself, why would you even bother kitting a gun out for recoil control when it's a shotgun? Well, I understand that, but to be fair, it actually does have some utility on this gun. So let's go ahead and talk about why I think it's actually kind of useful, but more importantly, let's just see how badass this thing looks in action. So the 5.97mm Matuzek Inferno, it basically gives you a little bit more recoil control and bullet velocity, but the main thing is recoil control. Now the thing about this gun, the Lockwood 300 in particular, and the way people usually kit it, it has a lot of recoil that isn't necessarily hard to control, but it is noticeable, especially if you're aiming down sights and you're going for follow-up shots, meaning 2 shots in a row. The way that this thing fires, which is pretty quick, especially compared to the other shotguns, it can be a little hard to get your second shot on target. Well, when you kit it out for some recoil control, and more importantly, use this barrel that looks awesome, you do notice it is a little bit easier to hit your follow-up shots, which makes getting those 2-shot long-range kills actually a little bit more feasible. Now, is it better to run this than the other barrels? Probably not, but this is one of those things where I just want the game to be fun again, and I just want something cool, and having a gun that looks like the Olympia from the original Black Ops 1 or even Black Ops 3's Olympia, which was kind of overpowered in a lot of ways, this thing is a lot of fun to use, and more importantly, just great to look at. I mean, it's just so much fun, and I love the way it looks. But I'm going to go ahead and go into the loadout to show you guys exactly how I'm building it, and something to kind of try out if you're looking for something a little bit new. This is the setup I have to help mitigate recoil control to some degree while still having a little bit of mobility. So the big thing here is the Matuzek Inferno barrel, this sexy Olympia barrel, and then we have the Cronin Marshall stock. This is the only stock to help with your recoil control. The other ones basically all hurt it in some way, except for maybe the Bryson Natural Series stock, but the high stock mod will hurt it, and so will the Sweet Spot stock, but this one actually helps it, even though it does hurt your aim down sight speed. Now, we do also have the Reckoner Comp, which is going to help with your recoil control as well in the muzzle category, but I find that even though you do get better control, having a tighter spread is still ultimately a lot more important because your 2 shots aren't going to happen unless you have that tight spread. So that's where this comes in handy, and I think that it balances out since it's not as heavy as the Reckoner Comp either. Then for the last attachment, you can just use the Buck Pro or the VLK 7mm laser, not or, but both, because you do want some aim down sight speed, and these attachments will help with that, even though you're going to be a little bit slower when it comes to how fast you move. This is also a great build to use with slugs, and if you want to use slugs, I would just say take off the Buck Pro and use the slug rounds, and then you can tune it. And as for the tunings, just make sure you're tuning the choke for a tighter pellet spread, get a little bit more damage range, and then of course, same with the barrel, just tune it for damage range, and you can even go with recoil steadiness on the barrel. But if we go into private matches and just kind of test it out, you can see that the recoil isn't really that bad. I mean, compared to how it normally is, that's not bad. If you go back and you take off this barrel, you put on no stock, maybe run, I don't know, the 711 barrel, and we try this out, you'll notice it's a little bit more, yeah, it's just a little bit more head towards the roof kind of kick, which again, it's not awful if you're going for 1-shot kills, but it is nice to have that little bit of recoil reduction, which I think is actually kind of fun, and it adds a different sort of feel and element to the gun and how you might play with it. Again, more importantly, this is just something new to try that's just fun and different. You know, we're getting at a point where we're a little bored. There is a new shotgun coming in Season 2 at launch, so that is really cool, but this is something new to try that I think you guys should check out. Overall, from my thoughts on this build, it's sleek, it looks so good, and it is a lot of fun to use. More importantly, it's just running and gunning in style. That's what this thing is all about. Yes, the recoil reduction is pretty helpful. It's not amazing. This isn't like the go-to build for everybody, but we're at a point where we need something new, we need something fresh, and we're just a week out from the Season 2 update, so I'm looking forward to that and the new shotgun we're going to have in the Battle Pass, but more importantly, give this a shot, and I want to know what you guys think of this build because I think it's an often overlooked barrel just because it helps recoil control, barrel, but tune it for a tighter pellet spread and for damage range, and just tune it for recoil if you can. And with all that being said, guys, I want to know, what do you think about this build? Does it bring you back to the golden days of Black Ops 1 with how it looks? Do you agree that it's probably the best looking shotgun build out of almost all of the shotguns in the game? And with all that being said, guys, I will see you in the next shotgun video.